What's up, guys? It is Chris back with another watch video, and today I have HEMEL on the channel, and this is the new airfoil. It's the mechanical airfoil, and that means it gets an ST19. They've made a few other chronographs, and they've used a bunch of different movements. I think this is the first time they're making one with an ST19 in it. I might be wrong. If I am, please correct me below. This gets a ceramic bezel, 120 click ceramic bezel, inspired by 1970s chronographs. Obviously that bi-compact layout gives it that vintage chronograph vibe, and that's what HEMEL do really well. 120 click bezel, as I mentioned, it sounds really nice. It is, of course, loomed. They put a ton of lume on their watches, and speaking of lume, the watch that I have on my wrist is the HEMEL airfoil, however in the cream colorway, and this gets a fully loomed dial. And of course it gets C3 Superluminova on the dial itself, and then on the bezel, hands, and indices only on this model right here. Beautiful brown leather strap, very nice, like a leather, natural leather color. Really beautiful buckle on here. Everything is basically polished. The buckle is polished, and essentially the entire case is polished. Very glossy bezel as well. Matte finish on this dial. On this dial, it's sort of like a glossy finish as well. So pretty blingy, I would say, but very understated at the same time. 42 millimeters across, and then it's a 49 millimeter lug to lug. So it's not an incredibly huge lug to lug. 13.8 millimeters thick, and as you can see on my 7.5 inch wrist, as you just saw, it does wear really nicely, fits really nicely. These come in at $499, and I always say that a ST19 powered chronograph, because it is a column wheel chronograph, it's designed after a vintage Venus movement, which was somewhat high-end back then, eventually owned by Valjoux. These are really nicely designed movements. They are machine finished, but they're pleasant to look at when you flip over your watch, especially if you have a display case back like this. It's a good looking movement to look at, as long as you don't look at the very fine details. The movement is really nice to look at, and I think these definitely win over things like a Mecha Quartz chronograph, especially when you're paying around $499. That's a really good price for something like this, and you get a lot of that style of the the 1970s chronograph, 1950s chronograph, 60s chronographs, and you even get that mechanical movement, so it feels like one too, which is pretty awesome. I really like these watches. I like HEMEL watches. They do an excellent job. The bezel action is awesome, and the lume is awesome on these watches. So the cream dial, fully loomed, as I mentioned, C3 Superluminova. Let's do a lume shot so you could see. But I could already tell you that the lume is going to be good on these watches, because I have experience with HEMEL, and they pay attention to the lume. They pay attention to the details. As you can see, these watches have a lot of little details that look pretty awesome. I'll do some close-ups of it as well. So very quickly, a lume shot, then we'll wrap up the video. Well, there you have it. Holy crap. I mean, this is incredible. That is a ton of lume on here. Obviously, it's a fully loomed dial, but it's the first time I've seen it in cream. I really like that. I think that this would not immediately be obvious that it's a fully loomed dial. A lot of times it's just a stark white, so it's pretty obvious sometimes that it's a fully loomed dial. Sometimes it's not, but this is pretty cool. It has that sort of cream, peach, salmon color. Looks awesome, and you have that negative display for the actual indices, and then the hands are loomed. The hands for the chronograph are actually loomed. Of course, you have lume on the indices and the bezel, but then also those chronograph hands are actually loomed. There's a lot of lume on this watch as well. Everything is essentially loomed on this watch, and then of course you have that sort of negative display for the chronograph, and then the hands, the indices and the hands are obviously loomed as well. Just looks fantastic. Just a really nice package. For $499, I think these are pretty killer. I really like them. If you could see past the fact that the seagull is made in China, everything else about this watch just oozes quality. And even that movement, it looks good, and it is well made. So that is not the concern. The concern is really just perception, in my opinion. That's why I like the ST19. I would prefer it over a Japanese-made Mecha quartz in almost every situation. There's really not one that I can think of that I wouldn't. The only other way is a Swiss automatic or a Swiss hand-wound chronograph. And if you want one of those, $499 is not an option. Basically, at the very least, you're starting at $1,000 for something with a Valjoux 7750, and it won't be this good looking. So that's just my opinion and just my experience, I guess. But $499, really good price, and I really like these. These have to go back. These are on loan from the brand. They actually are very local to me here in New York, so I was very lucky to get these in for review, and I don't have them for very long. I've only had them for about a week, and they have to go back. So unfortunately, I have to send them on to the next reviewer. I really don't want to, but that is life. Anyway, tell me what you think of these watches in the comments below. Obviously, I'm enamored by them. I think they're good looking, and I really like the proportions. I like the look of the watch. I like the feel of the watch. I like that you manually wind it, and you can see that manually wound chronograph movement from the back. There's really nothing bad about it. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll check you guys out in